here for the Murder, She Wrote tag. I thought, what better time to do this tag than in the month of December during Cloak and Dagger Christmas, which is a month-long mystery readathon that I am one of the hosts of. And the lovely Stephanie at Miss Richards Reads, along with several other wonderful creators, made this tag. And what was so fun about how they kind of showed the tag to the world, they revealed it, as they did a live show, giving their choices, a live show all together. And Murder, She Wrote, the first time I watched it, I thought, where has the show been all my life? It's so excellent, and it has so much charm to it, and it just doesn't take itself too seriously, and it's just a fabulous, fabulous show. There are 8 questions. Some of them are named after characters. Some of them are named after different aspects of the show itself. And the first one is Fletcher, after Jessica Fletcher, the main character. And it says favorite female author. And it has to be either Elizabeth Gaskell. Here she is. There's a picture of her with this one. Or, oh, can I get it? Can I get it without knocking things over? One tree fell. Or George Eliot. So these two, they go hand in hand for me. Elizabeth Gaskell, George Eliot. If I want to be a little bit less sad, I'll probably pick Elizabeth Gaskell, but I love them both so much. And I do have other, kind of more favorite modern authors, but I just felt like acknowledging yet again some Victorian literature that I love. And I'm so happy that I found those authors and that I love them and that they bring just such an enriching aspect to my reading life. I'm going to put this tree back now. Okay, then the next question 2 is Relatives, a book that is family focused. And here it is. I was having trouble finding it, but I want to say the Melendi Family Quartet. It is currently on my mind because we are reading The 4-Story Mistake. And what's surprising to me is that I didn't know about this series as a child. I knew about Elizabeth Enright's duology, Gone Away Lake and Return to Gone Away Lake, and I loved those books growing up. But these, I am so glad that it's one that I've been able to fall in love with as an adult. And I adore this series. I love that the kids all have very distinct personalities. And I also love their maid, who is so much more than a maid. She is a substitute mother. Her name is Cuffy. They call her Cuffy. And here they are all trying to make the suitcase shut. So it's so fun because Peter enjoys this series just as much as me. And so we're able to enjoy it all together. And let's find if I can find a fun picture for you. They are kind of rather simple illustrations, but they do have, they are full of charm. Definitely the Melendi Family Quartet. They have become a favorite literary family for me. And then the next one, 12 Seasons, your favorite longer series. So I will say, as a caveat, I was thinking of including Elizabeth George's Linley series, but I have only read 4 in the series. And it's because, one, I'm terrified of running out of them because they are, to me, like they have the staying power of classics, but they are page turners and modern literature, so you can read them more quickly, but they just affect me so deeply. But I haven't read that many in the series. But then I then talked about 2 mystery series, because if I'm going to talk about long series, that's what I've read the most of, with long series. And the first one is the Maisie Dobbs series by Jacqueline Winspear. Why I love this series so much is that with the longevity of it, and it taking place right after World War I, and then now I am far enough into the series that World War II has begun, is that you really get to see the long-term effects of stress and trauma on these characters that you come to know and love. And you really ache for them at certain points. So I have read 13 Maisie Dobbs books, and there are 17 out currently. So far, Jacqueline Winspear has been releasing 1 a year. I'm not sure if she will continue to do that, but I would love it if she did, because I never want to run out of this series. I know it's bound to happen at some point, but I'm in denial for now. And so just a wonderful series that is full of depth in the characters. And then another one is the Armand Gamache series by Louise Penny. I have read 15 out of the 18, and so far Louise Penny has been releasing 1 a year. And this series is really special in that there's a huge overarching plot, which you don't always get in mystery series. A lot of times they're kind of individual stories with the characters changing a bit in each book. And I love that about series, is how long you get to sit with the characters. But in this, there are kind of, there is the murder mystery in each book itself, but then an overarching plot that kind of circles around all that and has ripple effects into it. And Louise Penny just manages it so masterfully. I remember when it first really came to light, I was driving while listening to the audiobook and my heart was racing and pounding. I think it was the 6th book. And you realize just how much bigger the evil that you had suspected was. And so it's just such a well thought out and crafted series. The next question, Seth Hazlett, which character would be your best friend? And I'm going to not pick a character I think I've talked about before in a tag video. And so I would like to nominate Rosamond from The Three Brides. So in The Three Brides by Charlotte Mary Yonge, that is a Victorian novel that I read this Victober and fell in love with. And it's very domestic, and you are just getting to see the daily lives of these characters, their struggles, their triumphs, and their interpersonal relationships, how their different temperaments kind of can complicate their relationships with one another, and just what a challenge it can be to be a human being in this world. And out of the 3 sisters-in-law, you have Cecil, you have Anne, and you have Rosamond. And Rosamond was just by far my favorite. I loved her because she had such a spiritedness about her, and she had such strength of character. She also had a sense of humor, and there was something about her every time she was on the page. Her character just made a scene so dynamic. And so I loved the character of Rosamond for that. And I think I would enjoy spending time with her, were she a real person that I could spend time with. And then the next question is Amos Tupper, The Good Guy, book with a genuinely nice character. And I was very much charmed by a book this October, and that is Not Just a Witch by Eva Ibbotson. And this is a book that is all about the struggles of Heki, our lead character, and she can turn any person into an animal. But she wants to do this for the greater good. So she doesn't just turn any person into an animal. If it's someone who's especially detestable, she turns them into an animal, and it seems that they are kind of morally neutral after they are turned and transformed into an animal. And I love how she really wants to do good in the world, and you see her, she's done wrong. Somebody does her wrong. And I just love how she carries herself throughout it. It's such a quirky, fun book. Can't recommend Not Just a Witch enough. And then the next one is Michael Hagerty, favorite morally gray character. And I would love to nominate Rhett Butler from Gone with the Wind. What I love about Rhett is he's so complex that the first time I read this, I was like, I know him. I have him pegged. The next time I read it, I was like, whoa, what is this extra depth to Rhett that I completely missed out on the first time that I read it? And he's someone that you just can't truly know what you think about him from your first observations, from your initial observations. So Rhett is such a fascinating character. And I'm very excited. Tiffany from Beautiful Minutia and I are going to be reading this together in January. It's been about 5 years since I read it, and I am quite looking forward to it. And the next one is Mort Metzger, book with someone who moves to a new town. And I will just talk again about Louise Penny's Three Pines series. So in the first one, Still Life, Armand Gamache has not quite moved to Three Pines yet, but he's someone new. And so he's coming into this close-knit community. They don't know what to think of him. He doesn't know what to think of them. And so I'm very excited to be rereading Still Life this month because I've just decided to loop back around with the series. And especially I was prompted to do that because of the new Amazon Prime adaptation that's coming out. I'm not sure how many of the books they have coming out in this first season or whatnot. But I'm very much looking forward to seeing kind of those initial reactions that all the characters have to one another. Now, how many books is it? 15 books in. They all know each other very thoroughly. So very much looking forward to that. Okay, Then the next one, the last question, Eve Simpson, favorite romance or book with a romance? And I did kind of waffle a little bit, but as soon as I thought of Daughter of the Forest, I did not need to think, I didn't need to go through any other candidates. This book, it's so funny, I'm marking time since I read this book. It's 2 years in January since I read this book, and it has still stuck with me so just vividly, and it made such an impression on me, and I did not know that I could love historical fantasy this much. And it's also a fairy tale retelling, so that's an aspect that's going to be in its favor. It's just such a remarkable book. And Sorka, which I've now found out 2 years later because I listened to an audiobook sample, Sorka, her character and everything that she goes through, and then this incredibly slow burn, very not instant gratification romance, it destroyed me, but in the best way possible. So, Daughter of the Forest. I adore this book. I think actually once I get through going through the Seven Water series, I might just reread Daughter of the Forest and Son of the Shadows all over again, because so far those I think are basically tied. I might slightly prefer Daughter of the Forest, but it's really hard to compare them because they are both so good. So thank you for watching, and I was not organized enough to tag people. So if you like Murder, She Wrote, and if you like books, consider yourself tagged. And I would love to see what other people's answers are. And this was such a fun tag. So thank you to the creators of this wonderful tag. And I will be back with another video soon. Bye.